Folks, maybe you're not cut out to be a landlord. I'll get into that and then the latest home prices and insights for the Peel and Durham region for week ending July 31, 2024. We're seeing more and more what we'll call in second properties, where an investor owns a property, it's tenanted. We're seeing more and more of these properties coming on the market. We're seeing it when we're with our own buyer clients looking at properties. There's more properties that are tenanted than before. And so we're one particular situation just on the weekend, we're going through the home, and as we get into the living room, there's a big drywall patch on the wall. Now, it's the tenant who's walking us through the home. Pleasant person, him and his family have lived there for a couple of years. The landlord is selling, and he's walking us through the home that he's living in. And when we get to this, where this patch is in the living room, the big drywall patch, I can't help but to point to it. It's basically raw drywall. The rest of the wall is all painted, but this one big patch is raw drywall. You've got the drywall screws. There's no tape, there's no plaster, it's just raw drywall. And I say, oh, what happened here? Because it looks like a very recent repair. It says, oh, a few months ago, the landlord repaired, we had some issues with the wiring and the landlord repaired the wall. I go, but it's not, he's coming back to paint it and fix it, right? He goes, no, he's left it like this for months. Oh, okay. We get into the kitchen, and the cutout where the fridge would normally go, there's a small little, what I would consider a bar fridge instead of the big fridge. And I said, oh, you don't need a full-size fridge here? He goes, oh no, it's in the garage right now. It broke down a couple weeks back. And in the meantime, we've got this one until the landlord replaces the fridge. And in my head, I'm thinking, you've got a family here. Like I couldn't live, 2 days without a proper fridge, a full-size fridge. How is this person with a family living for 2 weeks now with just this little bar fridge there? And lastly, we're about to go into the backyard through the sliding door into the kitchen. He says, oh, use the side door. The deck is a bit wobbly. I go, how long has it been like that? He goes, it's been like this for a while, since the beginning of the summer. The landlord is supposed to come back and fix it. So the landlord's supposed to do this, supposed to do this, supposed to do this. And it's like, it's just not happening. Now, that afternoon, I get a call from the listing agent of that property. It's a follow-up call asking, how did my buyer like the property and so forth. And I bring up that, there's no fridge and the patch in the drywall, the drywall patch. I bring up the back deck that's wobbly. And he says, yes, put all that in the offer. And I didn't even tell him we're going to be putting an offer, but he says, put all that in the offer. It'll all be sorted out before closing. So the landlord is keen on keeping my buyer client happy, that all these repairs or fixes, whatever the case is, the appliance, the fridge would be in place before closing. The landlord, the homeowner, is keen on taking care of my client who's the buyer. But the tenant who's been living there for a couple of years now, making rent payments, he's not so keen on taking care of him. He's not so keen on serving him. Look, there's tons of situations where there's bad tenants. We've all heard the stories of bad tenants. But I'm bringing this up because there's also bad landlords. I don't know how a landlord could not take care of their tenants, but then they put the home for sale and expect the tenant to be rolling out the red carpet for potential buyers. It kind of doesn't work that way. There's lots of people who own second properties that are deciding now's the time to sell. Maybe it's financial reasons, maybe it's other reasons, whatever the case may be. They're looking to sell their property that's tenanted. Well, I got to tell you, you absolutely need the cooperation of the tenant. And if you're not keeping your tenant happy, what makes you think you're going to get their cooperation later? And that lack of cooperation from the tenant can cost you thousands in the sale price. Many people think being a landlord is passive income. Put a tenant in there and I forget about it. I just get the rent payment every month. It's far from it, actually, folks. It's probably the opposite of passive income. If you want to be a landlord, you work hard to put the correct tenant in there. And then you're on call constantly to serve your tenant. Make sure the tenant is happy. Make sure the tenant has their needs satisfied. Make sure the tenant is enjoying their stay there. I don't mean you're going to go and you're going to go and you're going to mop their floors for them, but certain needs need to be taken care of. Appliances, whatever the case may be. You're going to put a tenant in and you're going to serve them. That should be on your mind. And hopefully, when it comes time for you to sell, especially if writing's on the wall that you're going to be selling soon, hopefully that care that you've put into your tenant gets reciprocated back, that they respect you as the landlord, you respect them as a tenant, and everybody could move on with the next phase of their life. But those tenants that the landlords that treat their tenants like terrible, good luck, because that's what's going to be reciprocated back to you. So not everybody's cut out to be a landlord. There's bad tenants and there's bad landlords out there. If you think this video can help somebody please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Up here, there's a link to my calendar. Below this video in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. Peel and Durham numbers. Let's have a look. We're going to be looking only at detached properties. Mississauga, Brampton, and for Durham, I'm going to be focused on Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby as my Durham numbers. Let's get started. We're going to start off with Mississauga, detached properties. For week ending July 31st, 27 detached properties were sold, which is the same as the previous week. But overall, sales are trending down. 2 of those properties sold at $2 million or more. That number, properties selling at $2 million or more, has been steadily trending down since the end of May. Average sold price is now $1,344,000, down quite a bit from where we were the previous week, down quite a bit from May, where we were in the high 1.5s, close to 1.6. But overall, prices are trending down in Mississauga. These are sold prices. Compared to last year, 1,344 is 6% lower year over year. The median price is 2% higher, actually. And when we look at the dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. Median price and average price are trending down. This is over a 3-month span that I have on the board here. 27 were sold, only 7% sold at list price or more. That percentage trending down. Listings for a while were coming down. The orange, those are listings this year. The blue, that's last year's. So listings are coming down, but for the last week ending July 31st, listings jumped up. Active listings, there's 691 available listings. That number has been trending up. And when we look at that 691 available detached properties for sale on a weekly basis, 3.9% are selling. Months of inventory sitting at 5.9, way up from where we were 3 months ago. We were mid 2 point something, mid 2s. Now we're almost at 6 months of inventory, 5.9. That's Mississauga. Here's Brampton. 45 detached properties were sold. That number is up from the previous week. Overall, though, sales, not by much, but sales are trending down a little bit each week. 45 we said were sold. 3 of those were at $2 million or more, which is a big number, 3. There's only 1 week this whole year so far where we did more, and that was 4. There's no other week of 3 other than this week. All the other weeks are either 0, 1, or 2 properties selling at $2 million or more. So 3 selling at $2 million or more shoots average price way up. But overall, average prices are trending down. Currently, for the week we're in, average price is $1,202,000. 1,202 is still 6% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The median price is 5% lower. 45 were sold, 24% sold at list price or more. Active listings, 950, 4.7% of the properties available for sale sold. That's one of the higher percentages actually across the GTA. Listings up from the previous week. Months of inventory, same as the previous week, sitting at 4.9. But overall, over 3 months, months of inventory has been trending upwards. Here's the Durham region. Now, I repeat, for Durham, it's Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby detached properties that I'm looking at. Sales, 48 detached properties were sold. 2 of those were at $2 million or more. Average price trending down, but it is up from the previous week. It's now at $1,120,000. 1,120 is 4% higher year over year. The median price is 1% lower, and both median and average price are trending down. 48 were sold, 40% sold at list price or more. 9.8% of the available properties for sale, of 492 available properties, 9.8% sold over the week. That's one of the highest percentages of sales versus available properties for sale. It's one of the highest percentages across the GTA. Months of inventory, down from the previous week, it's 2.4, but I would still say over the previous 3 months, where we used to be at 1.1 and 1.3, we're now at 2.4. I would say months of inventory is trending up. Still low at 2.4, considering where months of inventory is in other parts of the GTA. Here's a quick summary. Just in what we're looking at here, with Ajax, Pickering, and Whitby sitting at 2.4, it's one of the lower months of inventory. Brampton's at 4.9, same as the previous week. Mississauga's climbing, is at 5.9. You're either going to experience, if you're selling or buying, either a balanced market. In rare situation, there may be a little bit of a seller where it's a really wanted property and buyers are compared to compete. But most likely, it's either a balanced market or a buyer's market. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.